Tēnā koutou katoa and hello everybody. Welcome to the Lento Intervention podcast. My name is Ben Adelberg and I'm coming to you from Tamaki Makaurau, Auckland.
And g'day, I'm Emma Strutt and I'm currently coming to you from Yugambeh country in Queensland. Before we dive into our conversation today, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community.
The Lento Intervention is an Australasian educational and advocacy platform dedicated to raising awareness about the current climate and health crisis.
And on this podcast, we invite guests to chat about topics that will inspire you to take action to improve your own health and the health of the planet.
So please subscribe to and share this podcast and visit our website for the full show notes.
And don't forget to buy us a coffee if you'd like to support our work.
So when we first officially registered as a charity back in 2021, just a year ago, one of the sections on the form we completed asked about the regions we would be working across. So naturally we ticked both New Zealand and Australia, that's where myself and Emma are from, but we also ticked the box of Pacific Islands. And the reason for that is our bigger vision of inclusivity. Pacific Islands are very dear to us. We love going there for holidays, but more importantly, these regions bear the brunt of a lot of what's happening around the planet in terms of climate change. So at some point, we wanted to reach out further and into those communities. And we are very excited that we're going to finally make it happen in this episode.
That's right. So today we are so keen to sit down and have a yarn with Josh Uluilakeba. Josh, also known as the Maoli chef, keeps busy by bringing plant-based cuisine to Fiji. Now, Fiji, along with many of our other Pacific Island neighbours, has unfortunately seen a dramatic rise in the prevalence of non-communicable diseases like diabetes in the last few decades. They're also at the forefront of climate change, as Ben mentioned. So when we stumbled across Josh and saw how hard he was working to improve the diet diversity and health of his fellow Fijians, we thought we'd better have a chat to him. So Josh, thank you so much for joining us today.
Uluilakeba, guys. It's a privilege to be here with both of you and just to talk about being a plant-based advocate here in Fiji.
So I just want to make a quick shout out to Ranilla. She's Fijian. She's a work colleague of mine, and she showed me your Instagram account months ago and said, because everyone at work knows that I'm plant-based, and showed me your account and instantly fell in love with your approach, with everything you do, showed it to Emma. And we absolutely had to get you on the show. So, Bula, Josh. So let's start off a little bit about yourself. And I don't think it's a little bit. You've got a fascinating journey, a fascinating story. So tell us a little bit about your background, who you are, and eventually all about your vegan journey.
Okay, so thank you, guys. So obviously, I'm Josh Uluilakeba, and I'm from Fiji. A little bit about my vegan journey. For me, I was actually born into it. So when I was born, the same year I was born, my parents had decided to go into the vegan and plant-based journey because of how beneficial it was to our health. Yeah, and so I'm now turning 29 at the end of the year. So it's been 28 years of being plant-based.
And for the people that can't see, you don't look a day over 20.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
It's that healthy diet.
Yeah. And I really see how really beneficial it has been, not only for our family, but especially for me. Because while I was born a vegan and taught how to eat healthy, like any teenager, I went out. And, you always like to just, when your parents tell you, don't try that, you got to try it. And so that's what I did. I went out and I just went basic on eating things that were not plant-based. And then soon afterwards, I had an autoimmune disease, which it really struck me down, and I was bedridden for quite a while. And as soon as I changed my diet, which I knew I had to go back to, my body went back to normal. It became alkaline again, and I was running around again. And that's just what really inspired me to, wow, I've got to live this vegan uh, life experience, and also I've got to share it with those around me. As both of you have said, it's a real problem here in Fiji, the NCD rate. Yes, and so that's one thing that inspires me to be vegan and plant based.
Now, what's amazing actually is what you said. You're nearly 29, but you're vegan for 28 years. So that suggests that you went off the rails, so to speak, for such a short period of time. And yet in that short period of time, how quickly your health deteriorated. I mean, that must have been quite scary as well.
Yes. Yes, it was. It was very scary because I had maybe only gone out. I think it was in the high school years. Yes, while I was in high school, that I decided. It had always been a mission of mine. I'd always tell my mom and dad, when I get my job, I'm like, what? I will eat meat. And then yes, so at high school when I had the chance, and so yeah, I just saw like it just took around 3 months for me to get my first attack of rheumatoid arthritis, and yeah, it took quite a while to reverse it, and yeah, from that point onwards, I knew I knew what I had to do. I had to just keep sticking to healthy eating, which is a vegan and a plant-based diet. Yeah.
So when you did change your diet there, do you think that you just started consuming what would be a typical Fijian diet, or were you swinging right to the extremes there with, lots of processed food and lots of meat? And I'm just wondering, because it came on so quickly, just how far you kind of deviated from your plant-based diet, I suppose.
Yes. So when I deviated, I was, mind you, I was still at home. So at home, I'd be eating plant-based and vegan food. It's only when I went out, so maybe only 1 meal in a day, that I'd be having, yes, a lot of processed meat food. But those 1 meals per day, they really made a difference in my body. It just took my blood pH down the acidic ladder.
Now, tell us a little bit about your studies, because I believe, so you've done a plant-based chef course, which we'll go into a little bit shortly, but that wasn't your original trajectory. You started off a pretty scientific route, didn't you?
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that and the change.
Okay, so when I had finished, I had done ACE, Australian Christian Education. It's a curriculum in Australia, which I did through homeschool. Yes, so after graduating, my year 12, I decided to go into university, and then I really loved going out for scuba dives, and I just had a passion for the sea, and it really hurt me to see how people were polluting the ocean and what we could do to show more awareness, and that's what kind of drove me to study marine science. And mind you, while we were doing that, we had our family business on the side. So yes, I was doing that. I was studying marine science, but somehow it just wasn't. How you've got that feeling that, oh, this just isn't it, and I just kind of felt like I was doing something that I didn't really want to do, or didn't really enjoy, not as much as cooking, because I could say that cooking is my first love. Yes, and especially cooking plant-based meals, and so that's what it really changed my career path. And I think I was in my second year of studying marine science that I started thinking to myself, oh my, I better make the change now before it's too late and I'll be in a place where I'm regretting, and I don't want to be that person. So as soon as I had the chance, I made that switch.
And you mentioned your family business there. I'm guessing it's the cafe that we're talking about here. So you and your family, I suppose you could say, some of the leaders of the plant-based movement in Fiji, because you were running that cafe for such a long time. Tell us about that.
Yes, I guess you could say that. So we were one of the first vegan cafes in Fiji. Yes, and so our family, like as I was saying earlier, it's going to be our 29th year in the plant-based journey and vegan journey. And so, as you've come along the journey so far, you've learned a lot of ways to make food, and you just want to share it with people. And so that was the goal of our family business when we first opened it in the year 2012. Yeah, so we just really wanted to make people aware, because and also the other thing was that we'd go to town here in Suva city, the capital, and there wasn't really any option for us. Uh, Unless there was Chinese, and I mean, you can't keep eating Chinese every time. So we just wanted to give options to our fellow Fijians that you can have plant-based food, and it's just not green leaves and everything. Yes, it was our aim to make it a really fun setting where people came in and they had all sorts of vegan plant-based food and locally sourced ingredients. Yeah, and so that was what Highland Natural Cafe was all about. And we were just so blessed to be able to run it for around 7 years. Yes, and just making people in Fiji more aware. And we saw that as we went out around in other cafes that were not vegan, they started doing what we were doing. And I guess we were actually accomplishing our mission here in the Suva city. So even though we closed down back in 2019, uh, everywhere we go around Suva city or in the West, we see our marks, some names of our salads, some names of our smoothies, and every time we see it, we don't have that envy or anything. We're just so happy that people are on board and they're making options for those that are plant-based and vegan.
That's amazing. Such a positive outlook. I mean, a little bit of a shame. I was about to say to our listeners, next time you go to Fiji, make sure you go to Suva, make sure you go find Highland Natural Vegan Cafe. But, your positive outlook in terms of it's about sharing the
Yes.
positive message, and it's about sharing the benefits and a little bit of, and the inspiration. And that's exactly what you did. And you've effectively accomplished that. Instead of one cafe now, you've got however many there are, but you can almost claim that as that was you. That was you
Yeah.
and your family,
Planted the
that
seed.
initiative. Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, so the cafe, it's gone, bit sad. But Maoli Chef. Let's talk about Maoli Chef. This is what this is really all about. Why the name? What does the name mean? What's the purpose behind it? Tell us about what Maoli Chef is all about.
Okay, so Maoli Chef, it's I'll just take us back almost a year. Yes, it's almost a year now. On July 6th, 2021, it was COVID lockdown here in Fiji, and we were split. That was the first time in Fiji where we're just split into, like, in Fiji we go all around. There's no states, so when you're on the big island, you can go from city to city. But that was the first time in Fiji we were stuck in small kind of state-like areas. Yeah, so while we were stuck, I was contemplating on what to do with the new career path I had chosen. And just one morning, I woke up and the thought occurred to me, I think I will do what I've been wanting to do, and that's share plant-based recipes, and also sell plant-based and vegan products. Yes, so Maoli Chef, the name, why I came up with that name, is mostly because of my culture, and Maoli is the fruit. Here you can see it's the papaya. Yeah, so it's the papaya. That's what it means in our Fijian dialect. And secondly, what made me call myself or my business the Maoli Chef is because it just identifies as a plant-based or vegan business, and that's what made me uh, just choose that name. And it's funny because that name, it just took me around, I think, 20 minutes just thinking. So I was brainstorming. I asked my brother, "Hey, what do you think I should name?" And my brother was like, "No, no, no, I'm not gonna tell you. You have to think it up yourself." And so I was just racking my head on what to name my business. And I looked at our kitchen and I saw the papaya and oh, yeah, there you go. So yes, so Maoli in our where I'm from, it's called the province of Lao. So the Maoli or the papaya, it's our fruit emblem, and so the Maoli Chef, it's a plant-based entity, and also repping where I'm from, which is Lao. Yes.
Amazing. And I'm from South Africa, and in South Africa, actually, we call it pawpaw, the pawpaw. So,
Yes.
papaya, pawpaw. And, because I come from the East Coast, so very tropical. And I think, Emma, you grow papaya in
Yes.
Queensland as well. And we used to have a few papaya trees in our own garden. And the best thing, especially in the summer, first, my dad every morning would look out the window, and if he see a bird start picking at the fruit, he knew it was ready, it was ripe. So we'd always get a fresh papaya in with a few little peck marks of the bird, slice it open, scoop the seeds out, and we'd all have a slice on our plate with a little bit of freshly squeezed orange juice over the top. And that was
Oh,
the start of breakfast. So love the fruit, love the name, love the concept. It's it only took you 20 minutes. Gosh, Emma, how long did it take us to come up with
I
our
was
name?
thinking that as Josh was saying, 20 minutes.
And
That's
your
gotta be
sister
like a
contributed
record.
to that too.
Is it your favorite?
Josh,
I
I'm
guess
coming
we
to you
leave it
next
like
time.
that.
Next time I need a business name, I'm coming to you. Um, so wonderful start. But so tell us a typical day. Okay, so you got the brand, you got the purpose, your mission statement of what you want to do. What do you do? What's a typical day for you?
So a typical day for the business is just going through the goals that I have before I actually start to, which maybe I go through at around 5 a.m. in the morning. Um, Before, like a year ago, it was not as I didn't anticipate it to become uh, this big. Yes, now I'm supplying to a local supermarket, and yes, so at the moment I've been working on a few products. So what I do in the morning is just write down goals that I need to complete by the end of the day, and then I work myself throughout the day. Just first of all, just uh, going through all my social media apps, and just updating the stories and all the normal do's, just replying to people's messages and whatnot. And then it's a typical day program for the Maori chef is just straight into the kitchen, which I like to call my lab, and it's just where I perfect my products and make new products for pushing out into the supermarkets, and also just putting out private orders to people who are ordering vegan sweets or savory dishes. Yes, and by the end of the day, I always love just going back to my checklist and just checking it out. And if I've left something out, oh, it's going to be a long night because we're not going to sleep until we check the checklist out.
Gosh, hard taskmaster there.
I like it. You've got drive. So you've got your firm tofu that's available in the supermarkets. Can you tell us what
Yes.
else you're working on, or are you giving away trade secrets? So can you spill any
No, no,
beans there?
that's not a problem at all for me. So, Phone Tofu is it was my first product to push out to a local supermarket called Kundan, and there are a few other products that I'm working on at the moment. Two products, gluten-free vegan patties, and some meatless tofu balls. Yes, and also
Wow.
um, some guilt-free desserts like a lamington, chocolate lamingtons, and
But the question is that from Australia or New Zealand? Who made it first?
Look, I think that doesn't matter. It sounds like Fiji is perfecting this recipe, and that's what
That's
matters.
true.
But
Fiji's national
but
dish.
Josh, take us. Let's go back. Let's go back a little bit to the firm tofu. How did you get onto making tofu, and why? I mean, tofu's you can just buy in the supermarket, no? Or was that not the
yes.
case?
Oh, okay, so for firm tofu, I have a specific preference for tofu. You have the two different types, as we all know. You've got the silken tofu, and you've got
Yeah.
the firm tofu. I I love both, but I just tend to love the firm tofu more because of the meaty texture and how you can play around with it more. And yes, that's why I really loved it. And then just going into the COVID lockdown in 2021, so where we were stuck, we couldn't get access to the firm tofu that we wanted, and it was very disappointing and kind of frustrating. And at that time, yes, a year ago, I didn't know. I had a fair idea of how to do it, but I hadn't been really practicing at the moment at that time. And so it had reached that point where I knew, oh my, I think the whole of 2021 will be in the lockdown. And so why not just make your own meat substitute? Because we had been just having a lot of food with the normal soy chunks, but sometimes you just want that fresh tofu. And so I just got to it. And if there's one thing I love doing, is just really perfecting recipes so that yeah, they're good for the taste buds. And so that's what I did. I did a really thorough research online on how on how Koreans and Japanese people make their firm tofu. And so that's how I started doing it. And the word went around in the local community where I stay. And so I just started selling it. And then the demand went up until now I'm supplying to a supermarket. And hopefully we'll be making it supermarkets plural in the near future. Yes.
That's brilliant because it's such a staple, isn't it, for a lot of plant-based eaters? And if you didn't have it accessible during lockdown, that would have been tough. So it's really great that
Oh, yes.
you've got that resource now for the community.
Yes.
And are you finding there's a demand for, the next little projects you're working on, the patties and things like that? Do you find that perhaps not everyone is as welcoming with tofu because tofu's or there's the perception of tofu's not good for you because of the estrogen and so on, all those myths. And do you think that other patties, are you going down that path to help bridge that gap? Is that part of the rationale why you're doing that?
Yes, yes. So, yes, just like how you mentioned, not a lot of people love tofu. I have a lot of friends who are not plant-based, but they just dislike tofu somehow because of the taste, and I'm like, what? but everyone's different. And yes, so that's my aim, just to create more diversity in my products. And so even though my next vegan patty, it's gluten free, so I've just taken all the soy out. Yes, so it's also a soy free product, and likewise for all the other products except the tofu meatless balls. Yes, and I find that while there's a demand for firm tofu, I'd also like to reach those who cannot eat tofu or soy, and also just share awareness on, there are so many other kinds of plant based foods that you can eat and try, and that you might actually like. Yes.
Yep, brilliant. And I've got to say, like, you're very blessed to be in an area of the world where there's an abundance of, fresh fruit and a few veggies as well. But unfortunately, in Fiji, like the rates of diabetes and heart disease and whatnot are really high. I think about 30% of the population there have diabetes, which is quite a bit. So what's a typical Fijian diet look like now? And what are you hoping to kind of, like, obviously we want to get people eating more plant-based, but where does this all sit also with like the traditional cuisines?
Yes, that's a very good point that you made there, Emma, about uh, the problem of NCDs here in Fiji. And yes, we are one of the leaders in NCDs here in Fiji, especially diabetes. And I think one of the main reasons is how we as Fijians have gone away from how our our forefathers used to eat. They used to eat very simple meals, nothing too processed. But now, because of people moving into urban areas, and yes, just leaving the villages, and it's not even for those that are coming to the cities. It's for those that come down from the villages and come and sell. So when they come down from the villages, they come and sell their produce, and it's as if they're just doing a butter system. They're bringing in their produce in exchange for the supermarket goods, and they're taking it back to their villages. And so you can see just how and why Fiji is becoming one of the number one nations in the NCDs and diabetes statistics. It's just because we've changed our diet from one that was dependent on what we would farm, and if there was uh, maybe less vegetables, then we would uh, go to the last resort, which would be a supermarket. But nowadays, the last resort is the farm, and so most of us are not even attempting to farm our vegetables anymore. And so I think that's one thing that I would really love to advocate. And yes, and just through the meals and the recipe reels that I do on the Maoli Chef platform, it's just more about just advocating to people how you can uh, fight the diabetes and NCDs epidemic. I would say that's taking over Fiji. Yes, I think it's a really big problem for us in Fiji.
So traditionally, a typical Fijian diet would have been lots of tropical fruit, some uh, you know sort of starchy vegetables, perhaps
Yes,
like the sweet potato and so on. Fish as well. I mean, you're an
yes,
island nation or nation of islands, so has and you talk about accessibility and people now, the urbanization and the access of
yes.
KFCs, McDonald's, and all that rubbish. We can say that here on this show. Um, but we know also now there's problems with fish. We're overfishing our seas. The amount of PCBs and heavy metals and all that in the fish as well. So and land, a lot of it in the more recent times converted to sugarcane plantations, or so
Yes.
a lot of that has also changed. So it's also hard to go back to what the traditional diet would have
Mhm.
been. That's also part of the challenge, isn't it?
Yes, that's very true.
probably like another reason what you're doing is so fantastic, because it's making good food accessible and easy to access. So, if people are needing to go to the supermarket because they don't have the land to grow their own fruit and veg anymore, they can still get a nutritious choice rather than the 2-minute noodles or processed
Yes.
meat or
Yes.
whatnot. So you're changing the system, which is fantastic.
Yes, I think that's the whole thing behind Maoli Chef, and my motto is just to inspire my fellow Fijians and fellow islanders to just be able to live a plant-based lifestyle. It's one dish at a time. I usually just tell friends who are struggling, and they tell me, "Man, how do you do it? Like, how can you quit meat and just have a plant-based meal?" And I said, yeah, just start with one dish and see how far you go, how good you feel, and if it is what you think you should do, and go ahead. Yeah. And so at the moment, I'm just really blessed to have the platform to be able to uh, share awareness on how important it is to live healthy here in Fiji.
And I've got to ask you just a follow-up question on this, because I always argue, this is going back to your point before, you made some of your friends don't like tofu. I would always argue that people who don't like tofu don't know how to cook it properly. So do you have a secret on how you make it so delicious?
Finally, someone is on my side. I have to second you, Emma. Yes. So every time someone is someone who is new to tofu, just pops up on my inbox and or my DMs and asks, "Hey, I would like to get tofu, but I don't know how to make it." Yeah, and so I really love telling them how to make tofu, because I really feel like it's how you make the tofu that makes a difference. Because the tofu, it's just all plain until you cook it, eh? And so yeah, there are different sauces and different ways you can bake it, you can scramble it, but yes, so. Uh, all these kind of ways I've included in my social media platforms, just to help people when they're buying my product from the supermarket. They can go to my social media platforms, and the recipe reels will help them be able to maximize the taste of the tofu.
Brilliant.
Not many foods you buy comes with a how-to guide, and here we go. You buy the tofu, here's a how-to guide to make it. Brilliant. And we always like to ask our guests on tips on how to make change and so on, but you nailed it. One dish at a time. Keep it simple. It's not about these steps and you got to buy this and that, just one dish at a time. And like you say, see how you feel. Was it good? Do you feel great? Go again. Make it 2 dishes at a time. And it kind of ties in well with our previous guest, Chris Darwin, and the Darwin Challenge app. And their app is also about this whole meal at a time or day at a time. Go one day at a time and look at the impact you're making on your health, on the planet, on society. And I think that's really the trend of where a lot of us should be going, rather than forcing this whole all or nothing approach, which can be very off-putting for a lot of people. It's about, let's take them on a journey. And I'm segueing into, Emma, I guess our official announcement of a new campaign that we want to announce. It's not new as such, but we've decided to make it standalone a little bit, so we can give it more of its a platform that it needs to spread the message and make it more accessible. Emma, the campaign is called?
Drum roll. Planet Cuisine.
Oh, yay!
Planet Cuisine.
Yes.
So we did initially, I think we started off with Plant Cuisine, and then Emma quite rightly butted in an E in there, which is perfect, because when you head onto our website and look under the section of campaigns and head over to Planet Cuisine, you'll actually see that we're trying to make it in a funny way look like the planet, like the Earth. And I think that's more the aim here is, when we first started as the Lento intervention, we were perhaps a little bit more about we have to go whole food, plant-based, and also very sort of, we were going in a very specific
It
direction.
was
And
Ben's
it's
way or
great.
the highway, wasn't it?
It is. And the benefits the benefits are there. We can argue that forever, and it's true. But the thing we have found over time, speaking to a number of amazing guests, other experts, and our own experiences, is the real goals, the real sort of outcomes are going to be achieved if we get the collective approach, not a handful of people. We need to be more engaging. We need to be more inclusive. And the focus really, and we've said this so many times, is there's no point in being the healthiest person if there's no planet to stand on. So we need to look at it from a bigger perspective.
Also, if you've got any, traditional recipes that can be veganified or plant-based, we would love to feature it, because as Ben said, we really do want this to be inclusive to everyone, not just, standard Australian, New Zealand fare. We want everything to help everyone make this transition. And that kind of brings us back to a very exciting announcement, Ben.
Not so much an announcement, but Maoli chef Josh has very kindly and willingly offered to be our first first contributor to our list of recipes. We already have, or those familiar with our website, we have a number of recipes on there already, which we will continue to grow, but we want to feature. So any of you, our listeners, have any recipes to contribute, by all means get in touch. But Josh, you are contributing a recipe, which I'm very excited to share with our audience and our followers. Tell us about the recipe. You gave us a little teaser before the show. We're excited. So tell us about what the recipe is.
Thank you, Ben. First of all, congratulations on this new initiative that you're going on board. And I am so ready and I'm so excited to support you with this recipe. Yes, so this recipe, it's a Fijian recipe. It's usually, so the normal Fijian recipe, it's called wali poki, and so it includes meat. Yeah, it's taro leaves on taro leaves. We usually put meat in the taro leaves, and then they put it in coconut milk. And so what I've done, I've just made my own rendition, and so the recipe that I'll be putting up for you, it'll just be a gluten-free taro leaf patty that is dry roasted or dry pan fried, and then it's put into a pot, and then just a bit of coconut cream, and yes, a bit of onion and garlic, and you bring it to the boil and then simmer it, and it's going to be nice. Yes.
My tummy is rumbling.
Emma, we're booking flights, so we are doing our next episode from Fiji, and Josh is going to be dishing up this beautiful dish. Amazing, and I think that's very excited to see that. We will be sharing that recipe, of course, on our. Gosh, I don't want to say it because we've been saying so long. We will have a newsletter coming out soon, but I'll go into the newsletter. But of course, we'll have it on our socials and on our website. So it's there for prosperity. But Josh, thank you. That sounds absolutely amazing. Yeah, I think that just kind of sums it all up. Bula to our new Fijian listeners. I'm sure we're going to have a few join in now, which we're very excited. But Josh, thank you so much. We really, really encourage our listeners to give you a follow on Instagram or on Facebook, where you're very active. It's just inspiring. It really is. We don't always need the science. We don't always need the heavy data, and just get on with it, and your motto, just one dish at a time. Dial in, look at those, follow those videos. They're easy recipes to follow. You make it so achievable for those that can't cook or don't know where to start. It's simple, a few ingredients, and you have a beautiful outcome that is not just for yourself, but for your family, your friends, and everyone else that you want to try and encourage to come along that journey with you. So, Josh, thank you so much for making the time to come onto the show, sharing your amazing journey, your amazing story. You are full of ideas. You're only at the start of this. So we wish you so much luck and success with what you're going to be doing and continue doing for your community in Fiji. And hopefully inspire all your neighboring islands and the big ones, Australia and New Zealand. There's a lot you're doing for our community. So thank you so much. And Bula Vinaka.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for the opportunity to be able to just share more awareness on the plant-based journey and my plant-based journey and how it's going in Fiji. Yes, and I hope that more islanders and more Fijians through the days to come will be able to be inspired to live a plant-based lifestyle. Like I always love to say, one dish at a time. Vinaka, guys.
Thank you for listening to the Lentil Intervention podcast. If you found this interesting, make sure you subscribe and share it with your friends.